The fog comes first. Before you see the city, you smell it. Coal smoke and damp stone, the cold breath of the river. It drifts up from the Thames in slow yellow waves, swallowing the cobblestones beneath your feet. They called it a London particular, a fog so thick you could lose your own hand before your face. And somewhere in that haze, a single gas lamp flickers to life. You are standing in London. The year is 1888. Around you, the greatest city the world has ever known is settling into evening. 4 million people live here, packed into a sprawl of mansions and slums that stretches farther than the eye can see. This is the heart of an empire so vast that the sun never sets upon it, an empire that rules a quarter of the earth from this very place. Listen. Even through the fog, the city speaks. The clatter of iron-rimmed wheels on stone, the slow clop of a hansom cab's horse, its breath steaming in the cold. A church bell tolls the hour, and the sound rolls out across the rooftops and is lost. This is a city of contradictions, and you can feel it already. For this is the age of progress, of steam engines and iron bridges, of railways that carry a man 100 miles in an afternoon, something his grandfather would have called witchcraft. The factories never sleep. The telegraph wires hum with messages crossing continents in minutes. Beneath your feet, the world's first underground railway rumbles through tunnels of brick and shadow. Everywhere, the future is arriving faster than anyone can quite believe. And yet, for every gleaming mansion in the west, there is a rotting tenement in the east. For every gentleman in a silk top hat, a child sleeping under a market stall. For every drawing room filled with music, a dark alley where the gas lamps do not reach. This is a city of breathtaking wealth and unimaginable poverty, standing side by side, often on the very same street. The fog hides all of it equally. Tonight, you will walk through this city. You will see how the rich live and how the poor survive, and before the night is through, you will stand at the edge of its darkest hour, an autumn of fear, in a corner of the city where the fog runs thickest of all. But not yet, for now the lamp glows softly in the mist. Take a breath, the cold air tastes of smoke and rain, and step forward. Welcome to Victorian London. Morning comes slowly to Victorian London. There is no sudden sunrise here, only a gray light that seeps through the smoke, turning the fog from black to a dirty pale gold. But the city does not wait for the sun. Long before dawn, London is already awake. The first sound is the milkmaid, walking with her yoke across her shoulders and 2 great pails swinging at her sides. "Milk! Fresh milk!" she cries, her voice echoing between the houses. Behind her comes the knocker-up, a man with a long pole tapping on bedroom windows to wake the workers who cannot afford a clock. The city is rising. By the time the gray light strengthens, the streets are filling. Clerks in dark coats hurrying to their counting houses, servants on early errands, dock workers heading toward the river. The road itself is a river of its own, omnibuses drawn by tired horses, hansom cabs darting between them, great wagons churning the surface into a thick brown soup of mud and worse. Mind your step. With tens of thousands of horses working in the city, the roads are never clean, and small boys called crossing sweepers dart out to clear a path for a gentleman or a lady, hoping for a penny in return. It is one of 1,000 small trades that keep the poor alive. And the noise is everywhere. Every corner has its sellers, and each has a cry of their own. Chestnuts all hot, fresh watercress, knives to grind. The match girl, her face pale and thin, offers her little boxes for a farthing. A man sells hot eels and pea soup from a steaming pot. The smell of it mixes with roasting coffee, fresh bread, horse dung, and coal smoke into something unmistakably London. Come to the markets and the city roars. At Covent Garden, mountains of fruit and flowers arrive before dawn. At Billingsgate, the air reeks of fish, and the porters carry baskets stacked impossibly high upon their heads. At Smithfield, the great meat market, the work begins in darkness. Everywhere there is bargaining, laughing, arguing, the endless theater of buying and selling that feeds 4 million mouths. But London is not only horses and shouting. London is steam. For this is the railway age, and the great stations stand like cathedrals of iron and glass. At Paddington, at King's Cross, at Victoria, the trains thunder in beneath roofs so vast they seem to hold their own weather. Whistles shriek, crowds surge across the platforms. From here, you could travel to the far corners of the kingdom. Journeys that once took days, now finished before nightfall. And there is a deeper wonder still, beneath your feet. In 1863, London opened the first underground railway in the world. Descend the stairs, and you enter a realm of brick tunnels lit by gas, where steam trains run through the darkness, filling the air with smoke and sulfur. Passengers emerge, coughing, eyes streaming, and yet they come back, day after day, because nothing moves faster through the crowded city. It is uncomfortable, it is strange, and it is the future. By midday, the whole machine is running at full speed. The factories pour their smoke into the sky. The docks swallow ships from every ocean, tea from China, spices from India, sugar from the Caribbean, the wealth of the world flowing up the Thames into the warehouses of London. There is a sense, walking these streets, that you are standing at the very center of everything. And in a way, you are. But the roaring city of the morning is only one London. There is another. To understand this place, you must see how its people are divided, because in this single city, two completely different worlds live side by side. Walk west. As you move toward Mayfair, Belgravia, Kensington, the city changes around you. The streets grow wider, the mud thins, the noise softens. The crowded tenements give way to elegant squares where tall white houses stand in dignified rows behind iron railings and private gardens bloom behind locked gates. This is the London of the wealthy, and their world is one of almost unimaginable comfort. Step inside one of these grand houses and you enter a different universe. Thick carpets swallow your footsteps. Heavy curtains keep out the cold and the prying eyes of the street. The rooms are crowded, for the Victorians loved to fill every space with velvet furniture, oil paintings, potted ferns, and ornaments upon every surface. A fire burns in the grate. Gaslight glows softly on the wallpaper. It is warm and quiet and rich. But none of this comfort runs itself. Below stairs, hidden from view, an army of servants keeps this world turning. The housemaids rise before dawn to light the fires and haul the coal. The cook labors in a hot basement kitchen. The butler oversees the household. The lady's maid dresses her mistress. The footmen wait at table. A wealthy family might keep a dozen servants or more, and they rarely complain, for a place in a good house means food, shelter, and respectability, which is more than the streets can offer. Life here runs by strict and complicated rules. For the upper classes, manners are everything. There are rules for how to dress, how to speak, how to enter a room and how to leave one, correct hours for paying calls, and rigid codes for courtship, mourning, and dining. To break these rules is to risk one's reputation, and reputation in this society is worth more than gold. In the evening, this world comes alive. The ballrooms fill with light and music. Ladies in silk gowns and gentlemen in black tailcoats move through the quadrilles and waltzes. Marriages are arranged with all the care of a business contract. For among the upper classes, a wedding is the joining of fortunes as much as of hearts. And over it all presides one woman, Queen Victoria. She gives this entire age its name. Crowned in 1837 as a girl of 18, she will reign for more than 60 years, longer than any English monarch before her. After the death of her beloved husband, Prince Albert, she withdraws into deep and lasting mourning, dressing in black for the rest of her life. From her, the age takes its character: serious, proper, devoted to duty, family, and respectability. But between the mansions of the West and the slums of the East lies a third London, and it is growing fast. This is the world of the middle class, the merchants, shopkeepers, bankers, engineers, doctors, and clerks, who do not work with their hands, but who must work all the same. The railways and factories of the empire have made this class larger and richer than ever before. They cannot afford a dozen servants, but they can afford one or two. They live in neat brick villas in the new suburbs and ride the trains into the city each morning. They prize hard work, thrift, education, and respectability above all. In many ways, it is this class, ambitious, anxious, and rising, that truly defines the age. And yet, for all their differences, these comfortable Londons share one thing: they rarely look east. They know what lies there, and they would rather not see it. They draw their curtains. They speak of the East End only in lowered voices, as a place of danger and disease that has nothing to do with them. But it has everything to do with them. For the wealth of the West is built upon the labor of the East. It is time to turn east, to step into the shadow. The change is sudden. Cross eastward, past the great financial district of the city, and the London of light and order falls away behind you. The streets narrow, they twist. The fine houses vanish, replaced by crumbling tenements leaning close overhead, until the sky is no more than a gray ribbon far above. Here, the fog seems thicker, the air colder, the gaslight scarcer. You have entered the East End, the other London, the one the rich do not speak of. In districts like Whitechapel, Spitalfields, and Bethnal Green, the poorest of the city are crammed together in numbers almost impossible to imagine. Whole families live in a single room, sometimes two families, sometimes more. There is no clean water, no proper drainage, no escape from the cold or the damp or the smell. And for those with nothing at all, there is the lodging house. For a few pennies, you may rent a filthy shared bed for the night. If you cannot afford even that, you may pay to lean against a rope stretched across the room and sleep standing up, slumped over the line until morning. When you cannot pay at all, there is only the street. How did so many come to live like this? Some were born to it. Others were drawn to London by the promise of work, only to find too many hands and too few jobs. The work that exists is brutal and badly paid. Men labor in the docks, hired by the day, never knowing if they will eat tomorrow. Women stitch garments by candlelight for pennies, ruining their eyes. And the children work too. For this is a city built in part on the labor of children. In the factories and workshops, small hands are cheap. Children as young as 5 or 6 work long hours in dangerous places, breathing air thick with dust and fumes. The little match girls dip sticks in deadly phosphorus that rots the bones of their jaws. The chimney sweeps boys are sent up narrow flues to scrape away the soot, their lungs filling with poison. Reformers fight to end these horrors, and slowly, law by law, they begin to. But for now, childhood is a luxury the poor cannot afford. And for the truly destitute, there is one final refuge, and it is a place of dread, the workhouse. In theory, it offers food and shelter to those who have nothing. In practice, it is designed to be so harsh that only the desperate would enter. Families are separated, husbands from wives, mothers from children. The work is hard and pointless, breaking stones, picking apart old rope. To enter the workhouse is to admit utter defeat, and the poor fear it more than almost anything. But poverty is not the only thing that stalks the East End. Disease walks these streets. In the crowded slums, sickness spreads like fire. Tuberculosis, typhus, smallpox. But the most terrible visitor of all comes from the water: cholera. Again and again through the century, it sweeps through London, killing thousands in a matter of weeks. For a long time, no one knows its cause. They blame the foul air, the smell, the fog. But the truth lies in the river. For the Thames has become little more than an open sewer, and into it pours the waste of millions, the very water that many drink. In the summer of 1858, the horror becomes impossible to ignore. The river, choked with filth, begins to reek so violently that the stench rolls over the entire city. They call it the Great Stink. It grows so unbearable that even Parliament, sitting beside the river, can no longer meet. And at last, shamed and sickened, the city acts. A great network of sewers is built beneath the streets, an engineering marvel that will save countless lives. But that is not the story the city will remember most. For in the autumn of 1888, in the dark and crowded heart of Whitechapel, something is about to happen that will seize all of London by the throat. And the fog is already gathering. The autumn of 1888 is cold and damp, and the fog hangs heavy over Whitechapel. This is one of the poorest, most crowded corners of the entire city. A maze of narrow streets and unlit courts, of lodging houses and public houses, of people living always on the edge of survival. On any given night, hundreds of the homeless wander with nowhere to sleep, and the gaslight gives way again and again to pools of total darkness. And it is here that the fear begins. In the early hours of an autumn morning, a body is discovered. A woman, one of the poorest of the poor, killed in the darkness with terrible savagery. At first, in a district so used to violence, it might have passed almost unremarked. But then it happens again, and again. Within a matter of weeks, several women are murdered in the same small area, each killing more shocking than the last. A wave of terror rolls through the East End, for these are not ordinary crimes. There is something about them, the boldness, the savagery, the way the killer strikes and then vanishes into the fog without a trace, that fills people with a horror they have never known. He kills almost beneath the windows of sleeping families, in streets where people pass only minutes before and after, and no one sees his face. The police are overwhelmed. They flood the district with officers, follow every lead, chase 1,000 rumors, but the methods of the time are limited. No reliable fingerprints, no forensic science as we would know it, no cameras on the corners. The detectives are working almost blind in a district where strangers come and go by the thousand, and where the fog itself seems to shield the guilty. Every clue leads nowhere. Every suspect slips away. And then the killer gets a name. A letter arrives, supposedly written by the murderer himself, taunting the authorities, promising more bloodshed, and signing itself with a name that will echo through history. Whether it is genuine or the invention of a journalist hungry for a story, no one can say even now, but it does not matter. The name takes hold of the public imagination and will never let go. From that moment, the killer is no longer merely a murderer. He is a legend. And here, something new and powerful enters the story. For this is the age of the popular press. By 1888, London is awash with newspapers, cheap and plentiful, read by millions. Locked in fierce competition, hungry for stories that will sell, they find in these murders the story of a lifetime. The headlines scream, the details, lurid and exaggerated, spread across the city and then across the world. For the first time in history, a series of crimes becomes a kind of national entertainment, a real-life horror story, unfolding night by night, devoured by a public terrified and fascinated in equal measure. The fear becomes a frenzy. Vigilance committees form among the residents, patrolling the streets at night. Hundreds of letters pour into the police, some offering theories, some confessing falsely, some simply feeding on the horror. Suspicion falls on countless men, foreigners, doctors, butchers, madmen, even in the wildest rumors, members of the highest society. The whole city seems to hold its breath, waiting for the next dark morning and the news it might bring. And in the slums of Whitechapel, the poor are left to live in the shadow of it all. Think of what it means to be a poor woman in those streets that autumn, to walk them at night out of necessity, knowing that somewhere in the darkness a killer is waiting. The victims were not famous, not powerful, not protected. They were among the most vulnerable people in the entire city, and it is partly this that gives the story its terrible, haunting power. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. The murders stop. The killer is never caught. No one is ever convicted. The man who terrorized the greatest city in the world for those few autumn weeks simply vanishes back into the fog and is never identified, not then and not in all the long years since. And that, perhaps, is why the story has never died. For more than a century, people have searched for an answer, naming hundreds of suspects, writing thousands of books, and still the mystery remains. the face behind the terror has never been seen. But step back from the legend and you will see that the true horror of that autumn was never really about one unknown man. It was about the streets themselves. The murders forced the comfortable Londons of the West to look, at last, at the London they had tried so hard to ignore. Suddenly, the newspapers were full of the East End, its poverty, its desperation, its forgotten people living in conditions the rest of the city had refused to see. The terror passed, but the questions it raised did not. And as the century drew toward its close, London, for all its darkness, was beginning, slowly, to change. The years pass and the century grows old. The London of the 1990s is not quite the London you first stepped into. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it is changing. The great sewers now run beneath the streets, and the cholera that once killed in thousands has loosened its grip. New laws protect children from the worst of the factories and mines. Schools are opening their doors to the poor. Reformers, writers, and campaigners have dragged the misery of the slums into the light, and the city can no longer pretend not to see. It is far from a perfect place. The poverty remains, the injustice remains, but the conscience of the city has been stirred, and it will not easily sleep again. And there are new wonders too. Electric light begins to appear, glowing in the grandest streets and shops, steadier and brighter than the old gas flames, a glimpse of the century to come. The telephone arrives. The motor car will soon follow. The underground railway spreads its tunnels ever wider beneath the city. Everywhere, the modern world is taking shape upon the foundations the Victorians have laid. And then, in January of 1901, the age comes to its end. After more than 60 years upon the throne, the longest reign in the history of the kingdom, Queen Victoria dies. For most people alive in Britain that day, she is the only monarch they have ever known. And with her passing, something vast and certain seems to slip away. The city mourns on an enormous scale. The streets fill with silent crowds dressed in black. The blinds are drawn across 1 million windows. As the funeral procession moves through the city, hundreds of thousands stand in the cold to watch it pass. They are mourning not only a queen, but an entire age. The 19th century is truly over now. The 20th has begun. So what did this city leave behind? Look around you and you will find it everywhere. The London Underground still carries millions through its tunnels each day. The great sewers built after the Great Stink still run beneath the streets. The bridges, the railway stations, the grand public buildings, so much of the city we know was raised in these years. The modern police force, the public hospitals, the very idea that a great city owes something to its poorest citizens, all of these took root in Victorian London.
And the stories endure as well. The fog and the gaslight, the grand houses and the desperate slums, the detective in his deerstalker, the orphan in the workhouse, the shadow moving through the streets of Whitechapel. This single city, in this single age, has filled our imaginations like almost no other. A world of breathtaking wonder and genuine horror, of soaring achievement and terrible cruelty, all bound together in the same yellow fog. Perhaps that is the truest thing about Victorian London. It was never one city, but two, the city of light and the city of shadow, forever standing side by side on the very same street. The gas lamps are gone now. The fog has lifted, cleared away by laws and time. The 4 million who lived and labored and dreamed here have long since passed into history. But on a cold winter night, when the mist rises off the Thames and the city falls quiet in the dark, London still remembers the wonder and the horror, the light and the shadow. And somewhere in that memory, a single gas lamp still flickers softly in the fog.